I think what kata has really done for us in our lean journey is to take it down to a level where the person who has the lean tools is actually learning to understand them, and they get coached around those tools so that they have a better understanding of what they're doing, instead of just some high level thing that, you know, management's telling them. So, you know, a good example would be here not too long ago, we did a kata around a workstation that was having issues with their tools not being in the right location. And so we took basically some 5S and went into that and used 5S to begin with. But as they went through the kata and started to realize that, you know, some of the tools they had, they might have needed 2. They then went to some cellular design and, you know, kind of redesigned the cell so that it flowed better, and so that instead of having 1 screw gun in their area, he had 2, so that he didn't have to walk across, you know, 5 or 6 steps across the cell to get a screw gun when he was working on one end of the grill versus the other end of the grill. So they just worked their way through a plan, do, check, act. I mean, it started out with, why are my tools not in the right location, basically, and went through all the way. You know, they did about, I think they ended up with about 25 plan, do, check, acts that got them to a place where they had redesigned the entire cell. So we actually use kata throughout the entire organization, whether it's you know, something out in the production facility where they're, you know, trying to improve a process, to even into like to sales, trying to grow our top line growth. We've used it in accounting processes where, you know, things didn't work quite the way we wanted them to, and to improve any process. But it also works very well for any strategic things you're doing. We're just getting ready to start a kata around ISO 9000 because we've decided that we're going to become ISO 9000 compliant, and we'll use kata to take us through that process.
So what I've done here is I've gone to Brett and I've gone to James, because I'm using those 2 as kind of a pilot to experiment with. And I've said, okay, I want you to identify just 2 or 3 high-risk points at which you perceive that the lack of doing things consistently or doing them wrong are an obstacle. It's because he had an issue there, and he had done 5S, and that's when I suggested to him adding the next level is TWI, you know, a very specific training methodology. So I'm kind of, we're looking at it the same way. I don't want to plaster. We've done that. We've been there, done that. We've plastered this plant from one end of it to the other with awesome looking standard work documents that you couldn't train to. You know, the kind that had illustrations, and they had arrows pointing, and they had little designators, and they had all of these, you know, neat notes and stuff. And you hand it to a trainer, you know, and for us, the trainers are the guy that's done the job for a little while, and he's suddenly tasked with training somebody. What's he going to do with this? He's going to say, well, this is cool, but let me tell you how it really works. You know, we use the acronym, but basically it's, you know, I call it, you know, the 4-step method more commonly out there rather than, you know, TWI per se. Because I really don't want them to feel like they're just getting introduced to yet another program. It's just a method. And I tell them, you know, I've been a trainer for 40 years. And this is probably the best one that I've ever seen as far as giving us the ability to ensure that the person both understands, sees, tries, practices, and probably, and I haven't really got any data for this, can eventually teach to that same methodology, probably way more quicker, because they've actually practiced the training in the sense that when you have them do it, they're telling it back to you. So, but then again, we're treating that as an experiment, but we're only introducing it 1 or 2 people at a time as a way to achieve a very specific purpose, which is exactly what happened during, World War II. Kata itself is not morphing. It's just becoming more of what it was designed to do, was to help people to do different things, to become experimental in nature. And once you figure out that it works in this setting, why not try it over here in another setting? I think most of us that have been practicing for a while realize that the true mark of when a person gets it is when they become experimental in nature.
Here for about 2 years, and I hadn't been exposed to this way of thinking, and that's really what it is. It took me a while to kind of figure out what it was, but it's way more than just having a board somewhere. It's way more than just having an activity to try to fix something. It really does change your way of thinking, almost to a personal level in your day-to-day life after you've done it long enough. And I like that aspect of it. I think here at Baptist, it's definitely helped us achieve a lot of our strategies, and a lot of our results have come because we have very strategically deployed Kata in areas that we knew would help us achieve our goals that the company has set for us. And another benefit has been the cross-pollination of people from all walks of life and all disciplines here at the hospital. I think work much better together. We've deployed shepherds from the lab to a nursing area and vice versa. I don't think we would have ever thought before of doing something like that. I think it's brought a lot of structure to us and organization, and yet at the same time, it's brought a lot of ability to be creative thinkers. The experiments, I really like those. You can use evidence and literature, and at the same time be creative to run your experimental cycles to kind of test if something's going to work or not. Beyond just the Kata work, what I've seen is that they employ the way of thinking and when they approach other issues. So for example, I've had some of them turn in business cases to me that are clearly informed by Kata thinking when they want to, let's say we have a need for seasonal nurses, or we have a need for a particular piece of capital, that they are really looking at the current state, their target condition, what's their challenge, they look at obstacles. And I've really seen that way of thinking be embedded in many of their proposals to us as this has moved forward. And I think I don't even know that they've thought about that I'm using this Kata thinking. I just think it's become much more natural to them over time to use that without even really knowing it.
Most industries like us, we're still very siloed. So Kata has allowed us to work together as a team and break down those barriers between all our departments within the value stream. As a result, we've been able to create standard work. We've been able to focus on what's truly an obstacle in our daily activities and reduce a lot of our firefighting, and create a culture of root cause analysis through Kata. It's all there, and every cell does it differently based on what their pain is at that moment. So I think that's where we realize that, it's not, hey, let's pull out a lean tool and see where it goes and how it fits with Kata. It's more like, what's our pain and what lean tools do we need to help us get through that pain? And the Kata methodology tells us which tool to pull out of the toolbox. Another example would be our paint line. We had another different type of product come in, and we had paint issues. We had a lot of drip lines coming down. It was very similar to another product, but for some reason we were having lots of problems. So we took that to our paint line, showed them the examples, explained to them what our issues were, and automatically that leadership team, that cell leader or supervisor, literally started throwing it on our Kata board and PDCAing it like crazy. In the end, through iteration after iteration, I think it was 2 months worth of PDCAs, they found out that The temperature was the issue. Although it was a very similar product to another product, same paint, everything, the temperature of what we actually bake it at, for some reason on this product was changing, which led her to a whole another PDCA, which she's currently working through today. Any problem that comes her way, it's now become a meta habit, which is ideally what we want, right? Kata is, hey, follow the 5 questions, but as soon as it becomes a meta habit, for her, there was no thinking or no coach coming to her and saying, okay, let's throw this on your Kata board. She literally just went right to her PDCA sheet and wrote right in the problem that she's got poor paint quality, leaving her paint line with an example sitting next to it, and then working towards with the team on what they should do to deliver the perfect painted part. And no one told her, she's been using it consistently and she uses it all the time.
Methodologies around Kata and has helped us to develop what we now call the Baptist Management System, which is a very structured way in order to drive improvements in the quality of care that we provide, efficiency in our work, that has helped us then to create capacity to have growth. And so the methodologies of Kata is a very scientific way to go about having improvement and having it in real time on a daily basis. I've deployed Kata in our surgery department. We knew that we needed to gain greater efficiencies and be able to grow that part of the business. Our physicians were asking for more opportunity to bring surgical cases to our Memphis hospital. But we needed to be able to do that without adding excessive cost in order to take on that additional business. So we use Kata to perform activities around improving our first case on start time. By having first cases in the morning start on time, we were able to make sure that all cases after those fell on the on-time basis as well. The other part of that was we knew if we could decrease the amount of time between cases, the turnover time between surgery cases, that we could also add some more capacity. So to give you some results from that, what we did is when we started our Kata work 2 years ago in surgery, our first case on start times were 48%. By using Kata methodologies and a team effort with our physicians, we are now have first case start times at 90%. 2 years ago, our turnaround time between cases was 45 minutes. We needed to shave off some time in order to create capacity. Our turnaround time today, using those same Kata methodologies, is now 25 minutes. With those improvements, we were able to grow our surgery volume by 15% in the last year with no additional expense of employees to us, and we reduced our overtime in the department by 3%. So we have national best practice of overtime results for the surgery department now. So the good story there is better efficiencies result in better growth, which then also contributed to a more positive bottom line. All of our Kata work combined, we have 23 Kata projects going on right now. We were able to save $5.2 million in this last year, which we have seen go directly to our bottom line.
What Kata has